course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly get-together, where we just have a bit of a sit around and chew the fat about all things motorsport. Big weekend in motorsport, of course. We have a new leader in the World Formula One Championship. Lando is in his heaven, and Sky F1 thinks it's all well with the world. It's a marvellous, marvellous time to be British. Apart from Prince Andrew. But apart from that, we've had action on the Gold Coast. We've had all sorts of things. We had chaos at the MotoGP at Sepang, particularly in Moto3, and our thoughts go out to the riders involved in that one. Of course, still in hospital in a serious but stable condition. But very scary, very very scary crash on the formation lap of MotoGP in Sepang. But to talk about all things motorsport and all other things as well, we've got our regular crew with us. We've got Peter Johnson, we've got Craig Doc Latigo, we have Mr. Richard Outram, and all the way from Queensland, the home of the Gold Coast 500, it's Mark Jones. G'day everybody, how are we?
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, thoughts go out to Rueda and Weiler. Yep, definitely. Weiler.
Yeah, that was it. It was one of those bizarre things. I mean, obviously wasn't looking where he was going, but probably wasn't expecting anybody to have problems, I suppose. And,
he shouldn't have been anywhere near it. For a
just
world
looking down at his ear, not paying attention to what was in front of him.
He was just in gaga land because Detweiler was actually doing the right thing. It hasn't been discussed yet. Well, we'll get into this now, I suppose. Now, get it out of the way. He was slowed down. He was right up against the curb. He was out of the way. He was down trying to look at his gearbox or motor or something like that. He was having a problem or he thought he had a problem or something. He was doing exactly the right thing, and it's 100% Rueda's fault and slammed into him. And look, even the other rider, I can't remember his name. It starts with V. I put it in our group chat. He even waved his arm and tried to tell him to slow down to try and get his attention. You are heading for someone who's having difficulties with his bike. And he did not pay attention to that even. So he was in absolute brain fade mode.
Yeah, it was scary, and the fact that you could see how dangerous it was. I mean, because obviously, neither rider was in any way sort of bracing or preparing themselves for a crash because But anyway, it was a big incident, and of course our thoughts also going out. Nothing life-threatening or serious in terms of injuries, but of course to our photography colleagues up on the Gold Coast who got collected by Brodie Kostecki's Mustang.
A couple of broken ankles, wasn't there? I think.
Yeah, a couple of broken ankles and some bruises, and a couple of a bad puncture wound on somebody's. There, thankfully, he did take the photo. I mean, I remember when I was I remember I was in a similar situation at Sandown with an MG that came straight from me, and I jumped out of the way, ran back and saved the camera. Driver jumped out, and the first thing he said as he saw everything scattered around in front of the ground was, "Did you get the picture?" No, I was trying to save my effing life, yeah.
But they got the picture at the Gold Coast.
They did get the picture.
It's nice and square.
It is. It's coming on. It's a classic photo. I must say they got some amazing photos. I mean, some of the whatever you say about that track in terms of its suitability for the racing and for all of the chaos that those curbs cause. The various particularly slow motion shots of supercars flying through the air and landing down have been seen by millions of people all over the world, and you just imagine sort of the NASCAR guys who are looking on at the moment, sort of wondering where does Van Gisbergen get all this talent, and having a look at that and going, oh my God.
Just briefly on that, I think Chaz invented a new way of going across the chicane.
By blasting straight through and going like the what are the? I think it was Chad Neyland pointed out in the Rally Finland approach.
I'm not alone in thinking this, but I'm sure viewers will agree, and probably a lot of the supercar fan base will think. I think there might have been a conversation with Chaz and maybe his engineer and a few of the team saying, "This is the approach I'm going to take. Will it withstand it? If it don't, you need to tighten up a few bolts beforehand because that's the way I'm going to have a crack at it." And well, it held together, unlike the fuel cell of his counterpart. But the WAUs have been plagued by some I suppose, mechanical issues more than some of the other teams that are unlucky, or that maybe some stuff that could have been done back at Taylor's Road now in Dandenong South. They're based, but yes, I think he threw it at it and just with gay abandon, and it worked.
Phil's pointing out, and Phil, of course, a photographer of some note and experience, pointing out that if the basic MA rule of 1 metre behind the first line of protection was followed, there wouldn't have been any injuries. The problem is that, at that track, the rules sort of, it's not that they go out the window, but having shot there and worked with photographers who have shot there, this is the problem of a street circuit. There are very, very limited opportunities, and they want that photo. I mean, there is a window, there is a dedicated photo window there, which is good because they don't do that at a lot of places, like Phillip Island, for instance, where they put up all of these fences, and it's like surely you could just put a few sort of dedicated photo windows in, which they've done it.
According to the official statement, though, they were a metre back.
Yeah, I don't think so.
According to the official statement that came out, I even read it myself. It said that they followed procedures. I don't know whether this has actually been investigated or not, but according to official statement,
they were like, I don't think they were doing anything wrong. I don't think they were in a position that they shouldn't have been. I don't think it was a case of they were standing somewhere they shouldn't have been, because, as I said, lots and lots of people have shot from that spot, and I've been there myself. Back in the IndyCar days, and they were particularly they were particularly cavalier about it. I remember Justin Dealey, when he was shooting there, had an idea. Both he and I think Dirk Kleinsmith as well had ideas of doing some pretty inventive photography there, and they sort of ran it past the cams as they were, people who said no way, can't happen, and then they ran it past the IndyCar people who went, hey, that sounds fantastic, let's do it.
And
get you right.
After that accident, they actually banned the photographers from standing there for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, it's like, goodbye, horse. Anybody got a bolt? Yeah.
But they did get hit if you actually watched the live.
Yeah.
Oops, Richard's dropped out.
I think there was censorship stepping in and preventing Richard from saying that.
Yes, that was it. Supercars has Motorsport Australia have huge tentacles. I said tentacles.
Can you hear me now?
One medium-sized satellite. Richard, we can. Yeah.
Well, I was watching it, and they did get hit by the concrete blocks. That's for sure.
Oh,
they were doing the little normal thing of lying on top of it, using it as a prop to put the camera on. And you can see from the footage they didn't have much time to leave.
Yeah, that's it. Phil also saying the back chicane enforcement felt to be all four wheels of the air means they had no part on the track, and that's the thing. I mean, it's a spectacular shot, but I mean the fact is that those cars, it's a wonder that more cars don't break, and that there's also not even more crashes there. I don't know what they're going to do about it, because it is a part of that track, but they're just extreme, those curbs. They're just quite chaotic.
If you hit the curb hard enough, you can get enough air to clear the sensor.
I think they've turned those sensors off at the back chicane, because everybody was doing it, and they thought, we can't police it, so we'll just turn them off.
Well, that actually caused some controversy in the Toyota 86s where they didn't have it on during qualifying, I think, or either practice or qualifying, and then the next session came along and everything was turned on, and it was, they had it off during qualifying, they turned it on for the first race, and then we had the ridiculous situation in commentary where race control was calling out curb hopping for maybe 5 or 6 cars every time they came past. Yeah,
I'll tell you how you police it. You're damned if you do, and it will absolutely outrage every spectator in the whole event. And it doesn't matter what it is. They'll put a couple of extra tyre bundles there. They hit 2 or 3 times, they break, they have to stop, and they red flag it or like that, and keeps getting interrupted.
They took the tyre bundles away. They used to have the tyre bundles there, and everybody screamed and said, "Oh, it's chaos. I mean, it's causing too much damage to our cars."
Exactly. No, put them back there, red flag it every 3 laps, and you watch how the race goes. It goes to 9 o'clock at night, and everyone gets frustrated.
No, but it's time certain, so it won't go. It's time certain, so it won't go.
Oh, I know that, Pete. I'm making an example of an exaggeration to deliberately say, put them there, and it'll just ruin everyone's entertainment.
I think they've got to look at that, that part of the circuit though, and see, do we have are there any alternatives there at all? Because it makes for a lot of fun viewing, but it's not consistent. I mean, sort of as. Has been pointed out, I mean, the application of, people were just straight lining that right throughout the race, and it was like, well, really, if they're doing that, I mean, they might as well not have the bloody curbs there. They might as well just, reprofile, take them out, reprofile the corner, and
exactly put barriers around it. Reprofile.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with that is that's actually a significant kink in there. If you remove the curbs, you've got this fairly significant kink that then sort of increases the possibility that they might run each other into the walls as they take that left-hander and
fix that. Do what Brett said. Take out the curb things. Put a whole 90-degree hairpin in it. And it'll slow them right down. It'll wreck the straight, and they have to slow down and go around and put concrete walls around the outside with a reprofile. Like Brett said.
Don't know whether
put a whole corner there.
Room to do it, because that's what I thought. Yeah. I thought, when I looked at it, I thought that's what they have to do. Like put in like the bus stop. Like a real, you're gonna have to. You've got to slow down. You've got to go around. But that would
accommodation towers do not have front yards.
Yeah, that's it. In terms of
take it out on the beach, people.
It's been so long since I've been. I can't remember. Good idea.
Divers in the water like they do it.
Yeah,
do it in Monaco.
Bulldoze a few turtle nests in the road anyway.
Oh, there's not turtle nest on the GC.
Paul saying you can remember an Adelaide Grand Prix with a Japanese photographer who turned up with bolt cutters to cut his own photography there. Well done, sir. Well played.
Briefly, but well played.
Yes, it was. It wouldn't have lasted.
Day 2 was
a little Dremel would do the job too. A little Dremel would cut a hole through. I reckon quietly.
A Ryobi angle grinder with a battery.
Mine's a little bit more discreet than yours, Richard.
No. I'll be done in less than 30 seconds.
I'm trying to keep mine in the back pocket, not lug it over the shoulder.
The problem is when they design these things, they at no stage do they take into account the needs of the photographers. I'm sure Phil will agree with me on this point, particularly at places like Phillip Island, particularly at Sandown. Sandown is ridiculous now. I mean, you've got about 3 places on the whole track you can stand, and the rest is basically, the rest is basically cut off to you now. And that's not just for stills; it's also for video as well. That's why it's far more expensive now to cover anything at Sandown, because all the places we used to film from in the days when we used to cover the Victorian State Series, we couldn't do that anymore, because you've got to go to the extra expense of the time of bringing in scaffolding to get over the noise fence and all the other things, and to get far enough away that you're in a safe position. It's a lot safer for the photographers, of course, but in terms of making life difficult for everybody, and you do understand that when you're standing next to when you're standing next to a racetrack, that there is a degree of danger there. It's like I said when we went to Dijon for the Grand Prix de l'Arche d'Or, and Melissa wanted to take photos, and we said, well, where can we stand? And they said, you can stand anywhere you like. Do you want to stand on the track? And we went, no. Well, good. Don't stand on the track. Apart from that, and as I said, I literally had hold of Melissa's. She was hanging out on the top of the Armco, leaning over while I was
approved,
getting and taking shot, and I was pulling her back in again. So that was, and they didn't.
Well,
they didn't,
at least neither of you were chasing debris on a track, but no one was checking where the cars are, or just checking to see if anyone's pitted. So those GPS modules, don't worry about the car. It's not anywhere near where it should be. Just go and grab that bit of debris. Well, we don't get onto that subject yet. We're just talking
let's get it. Well, soon we started with the.
I'm just talking about accidental stuff.
Gold Coast. Yeah, let's talk about. Let's get that out of the road. The road first. Chaz Mostert winning. What do we think, Pete? I mean, you watched. No doubt watched the whole thing. I watched a lot of the main races and a little bit of the supports, but I watched pretty much all of Sunday's race. What did you think of it all?
I thought it was good. It was interesting that Saturday, the concept of finals seemed to stress everybody out, and they seemed to, in qualifying in the race, it seemed to stress everybody out, and they made some mistakes. And actually, on the Sunday, as a fan, I was really invested in it. I was wanting Ryan Wood and Brody Kostecki to do. I was torn. I wanted either one of them to win, just to make it interesting. But
I think you're in the 1% club there, Pete.
No
one cared. All the social media stuff I saw over the whole weekend, no one cared about the finals.
I don't know about that. I've seen plenty of. I was a
little bit of interest, but at the track it was a bubble.
I don't particularly like it, but I can see we won't know how successful it is until we get to Adelaide, and then if Adelaide comes around, because I can see exactly why they brought it in, and it's probably a lot of it has come direct from the promoters at Adelaide, who are saying, "Hey, listen, we love having the grand final. The point is, the grand final, it's often irrelevant in terms of the championship. The grand final is irrelevant because they've wrapped it up just after Bathurst or something, and it's just another race then. So this way it does keep the championship, albeit artificially, alive to when they get down, and they'll be able to promote it as this is it, the battle between the top four. Will it be Chaz? Will it be Brock? Will it be? They can really hype it up, and I reckon it's got the potential to bring like a lot of extra people, particularly casuals, through the gates at Adelaide to go. Oh wow, it's going to be this is going to be chaos because
it's totally propaganda driven. Brett, totally proper. It'll bring extra people, but what you can see is what they've got with sporting identities, and some of the interviews they did over the weekend was ridiculous. It was so sickening, I almost threw up in my lounge room because they brought people in from NRL. No, they do all that this time, but the interview they did, the particular questions they asked was sickening. They're like, this compares. How do you think of the final series thing? It's just like when you play off in the such and such. And it's like it's such a spin and propaganda. It's like I know exactly why you invited that person because they invite, as you said, Pete, dozens of people each year. Throw them a bloody free ticket. Come on board. We'll give you some finger food, a few drinks, that sort of stuff. But they interviewed them deliberately with a set of questions this year to try and relate it their hype on this finals thing, which is a whole lot of BS to 95% of the people that are watching it. They don't care about it. And they tried to relate it. It actually makes it worse. It's probably negative thing because all it does is just put people... to me, it puts you off even more. It's like, don't try and manufacture this. And you're putting words into a proper sporting person in a league that they're in or a game that they're already doing. And you're trying to they're going to play along the game because you've given them all free stuff.
I don't know. I actually had the sound down at the time because I was doing something else, and I sort of looked around and I saw this familiar face and went, "Where do I know him from?" And suddenly the lower third came up. Bailey Smith, AFL footballer, and I went, "Oh, this is dangerous. This could be very dangerous."
I'm going to come back. I'm going to be in Adelaide. No worries. I've already booked my tickets. What a load of...
He got banned from one of the bars or something to start off with.
Oh God! Yeah,
He got a ban on him.
I thought, like if he's been out at the various pubs and bars at Surfers Paradise, of which we know there are a few,
One or two,
and been to most of them, and I can imagine, going out and saying, it could have been very risky, but I thought it doesn't offend me. I just find it so confusing the way it's there's certain amounts of points are carried over, and certain amounts of, there's a weighting depending on whether you won whether you won the sprint championship or whether you won the endurance.
Well, it's copied directly from what NASCAR have been doing for a couple of decades.
And NASCAR are looking at getting rid of it now.
Yeah.
And the other thing
Because people like Shane come in and stuff everything up. Good on you, mate.
The other
Good to
thing
see an Australian going over there and stirring.
Oh, don't stir him up.
Don't call him an Australian; he'll kill you next time he says.
That's what I just said. Don't stir him
No,
up.
he won't kill you. He'll just kick a football in your face.
Which will kill you.
Look, he's got to be an Australian. He's a New Zealander who's been successful here.
A rugby league ball in your face.
The other thing I don't like about it is there are two races and we use two different compounds of tyres. It should be the same for both races on a weekend at the same venue.
Why?
And I don't like the fact that we've mentioned this before. I mean, the whole thing about compulsory pit stops and all the rest of it really annoys me as well. I mean, like
what's
if they
Larko going to do if you don't have a
if they can find a way, obviously, they've made the race long enough so that in theory they're going to have to come in. They're going to have to come in twice. But if there was some way that somebody could contrive a way of getting in once and then a quick splash and go because they've saved fuel and like everybody else is running out and watching, then it becomes interesting. It's like the strategy comes in and it comes more into effect then. But
I think Shane van Gisbergen virtually did that in the end. In his final years, he basically took the what's the name out of it by pitting on the second last lap or something.
Yeah, we didn't see that this year, but look, it was a good. It's a good advertisement for the Gold Coast. I mean, it doesn't have the international cachet that it did when the Indy cars were running there. I mean, those images went all around the world, and you can imagine, sort of people, particularly this time of year in sort of, blizzardly cold, Michigan, where it's 10 below zero or something, and they're sitting there going, "Oh, hey, next year we got to go to that race. Look at that. Look at the beautiful beach and the blue skies and the girls in the bikini. Oh, wow, let's go there." That's nobody sees that now. Nobody cares. But
that's not it. That's the Gold Coast race is in October, and IndyCar's view is that all motor racing must cease before the start of the NFL football season.
Yeah, that's it. So they were obviously. That's
just the way the TV market works for them. So so that was
because they were quite keen to come back. It was just
Champ Car
worked. Champ Car
IRL weren't. Yeah, but IRL didn't believe in the Gold Coast at all.
No, well, they don't believe in a round Earth. So or the moon landing. So that was.
Boy, you should read the internet on that.
No, don't have to. Just listen to their president speak.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's
just run a Ronald Reagan ad campaign about free trade for the world.
That'll
give you an extra. That'll give you an extra 10%.
Yeah, let's not get started with that.
Just a joke.
I'm gonna put tariffs on you because you said nasty things about me. Anyway.
Who are you? I don't like you.
Well, the Senate stuck up for it and threw the idea out, so that's not happening.
That's good. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about get back to the racing again. We had We had the Carrera Cup. We had Porsches going everywhere.
Oh, yes. I bought 6 of them and I made 2/3 of one.
Yes. After they had such a good round at Bathurst, they then go to the Gold Coast and decide to turn the place into a car park. And
Can I have some signed autographs of your leftovers, please, Richard?
Yes. I'm making a fortune down at Sims.
Oh, yes. Cheapest chips has folded lately. You might be able to resurrect them.
These days?
You and I, we shut up. Yeah, us two.
Zip it.
We're going to get in trouble.
Yep. Well, it was a demolition derby on the Saturday, but they behaved themselves a bit better on the Sunday. Anything else about any
Porsche
of the
expensive demolition derby?
The Toyotas were in action. I didn't see anybody want to comment on any of the support races because I said I didn't really see any of them. I watched the main races and that was it.
As Jonesy said, they were all too busy getting curb strikes trying to.
Yeah, the Toyota 86 races were ridiculous with all of the curb strikes, and even once they like the first race was quite a bit ridiculous. How they crossed the start finish line bore no resemblance to the final result, with all the 5-second penalties being applied. They got better from there. I guess they learned their lesson a little bit. Super Utes were pretty good.
Just before you finish on the 86s, they tried a little tactic and it didn't work. It caught my eye for a brief second. And it didn't work because they got buried, most of them, which was they gave a wild cards to Luffy and Chris Pitt, and it didn't work. They got buried, so they tried, but maybe.
They give there's a wild card. They have those.
Pretty experienced at these.
They run them at every round.
At the paddock though, the young ones would have got it well. Oh, can we have a chat? And they probably got some that sort of stuff. But as far as TV coverage, it meant SFA.
Well, they also allow the data that's collected by the celebrity drivers, for want of a better term, the experienced veterans that come in and race them, is then provided to all other teams to look at. So that it's a bit of a teaching aid, a little bit for some of the younger drivers, the fresh out of kart races. But yeah, that's.
They got buried. There wouldn't have been much data they got, I think, anyway.
Yeah. It was very different from Steve Owen's giant killing performances at Bathurst 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I've always thought that Steve Owen was an incredibly underrated driver. I mean, every time he jumped in a co-driver spot, and when they used to have those co-driver races at Sandown before the Sandown 500, he always did extremely well in them. He did. He's a very talented driver, and he's particularly good around Bathurst. And it's good to see him still. He's still got the chops. But anyway, so that was the weekend at the Gold Coast. We now move on to Adelaide
before we get to the big guns.
Oh, I guess just one more thing on support races though. Got a feel for Aussie racing cars being particularly hard done by. They had 2 races cancelled. One was later restored, and race 3 was thrown in after program concluded on Saturday, like after the
Wondered
V8
where
races.
they'd gone.
Yeah, and then their 4th race on Sunday was deleted when timing went down for about half an hour
again,
and they had no way to run the race. So I got a feel for them, and there was
that's happened a lot over the years up the Gold Coast. I remember the sports sedans went up there at one stage. I think it was one year that I was up there, and the sports sedans were actually running there, and I think they got one race in over the course of the weekend, and then they were cancelled for time, or they cancelled. There was a red flag on the first lap, and they did 2 laps behind the safety car, and then it was like, no, we don't have time, you're off, and a lot of people paid a lot of money, and I think it was at that point a lot of the sports sedan guys said, "Oh, no, never again."
Never again.
All the exposure we were supposed to be getting, it's cost us a bloody fortune to come up here, and we've had about, I think, one driver I spoke to, it might have even been Mike Roddy actually, now that I think of it, basically said, we paid a lot of money to be up there. We've had, but between practice qualifying and the racing, we've had 8 laps.
You mentioned sports sedans, and before we get to the Grand Prix, we might just shuffle this one in briefly. There, round 4 of the National Series was held at the Bend over the weekend.
I just mentioned that 2 minutes ago.
Did you? Oh, my apologies.
I just said, I was about to say there's a new sheriff in South Australia.
Okay.
I didn't say that 2 minutes ago. I briefly said the sports sedans, but I got cut off. Doesn't matter.
Sorry, especially if that was me that cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't matter who it was. I did already mention it.
It was me.
Anyway, that's right. Right, that's different then. I obviously posted to you and Brett the picture of it, and I've been watching the build of it for months and months, and I've been a big fan of Brad and the gang and everyone down in Tassie since Brett set me on a mission to go look for a car in a absolute needle in a haystack, and I found it. And look, let's not get into that because otherwise we'll be here for hours. But Brad Sheriff from Tassie had his new R34. Absolute blood. It was always going to smash and kill everything in its sight, and he just. If Brad had driven it himself, he's always said my lack of talent will not produce the best out of that car, and actually all it will do is turn it into a crumpled mess. So they put Slady in it to get some feedback from the car over there at the Bend in the sports sedans, and they were going to make a decision after practice and having a hit hour on the first day whether Slady would keep on driving for the weekend or Brad would have a jump in the steering spot himself, but they decided to leave Slady in it for probably, of all intensive purposes, to get the best out of it. And also, wow, yeah, that thing is just an absolute bullet like its predecessor. It was great to see the Gen 2 car of Brad Sheriff, this time probably in a better category with no more Motorsport Australia breathing down your neck.
Well, that's the problem, though. He still has it because they will. I think Brad said afterwards, depending on what Motorsport Australia and also the Sports Sedan Association and everybody does, as to whether he actually turns up at Phillip Island, because it was so competitive. I know already there's noses out of joint within the sports sedan community going, this thing has so. And when you look at it, I mean, it's still, despite the fact that it's a new car. And it has, obviously a lot of improvements over the car that he raced with such sort of notoriety at Bathurst a couple of years ago when you were there up there and did the interview with him. The fact is that it's still not anywhere near as highly developed as some of those other cars in terms of the chassis and all the rest, and the aero and all the rest of it. But it's just got this absolute bomb of an engine that just and they've dialed it right down. They've restricted it here and they've restricted it there and tried to slow it down, but it's still an absolute weapon. And
it's a bullet.
I hope they don't mess with it too much, because it's the sort of car that if it runs down at Phillip Island, for Island Magic for the last round there, that I would say will get extra people through the gate. I think there's going to be a lot of people who go, I'm going to go see that. I'm going to go see that Nissan. That's insane.
It'll break a record too, I think, Brett, for some, whether it be, I don't know, speed down a trap on a certain spot or a lap or whatever it may be. But I think putting Slady in it was just a MasterCard or someone of his caliber, or a Steve Owen or whoever it may be, who's it's child's play. They've used a lot more technology. But yeah, and as you said, if they develop it, please, Brad's just a genius. He knows exactly what to do. He knows who he's got down there in Tassie with him. He knows who to give it the fabrication to, or who to get, he got a Hollinger gearbox in it, or up from Victoria. He just molds this beautiful piece of pottery, his artwork, and puts in the Louvre over in France, and everyone wants to steal it off him.
Well, it was a great. Looking at from the other end of the spectrum, thoughts go out to John Goulet and Darren Hossack. The new Audi, the second version of the Audi sports sedan, John Goulet's car. Darren got back behind the wheel to basically to help sort it out, to get it under get it back up and running in the form that John wanted it. And unfortunately, on the Friday, I think it was, they had a major fire in that car. And the considerably damaged. So unfortunately, we probably won't be seeing the Goulet Audi back in action at Phillip Island, which is a shame. And I think Daniel Tomasi had some problems with his Calibra. Stephen, sorry, had problems with his
dropped out of race
Calibra.
3, yeah.
Yeah, so...
but he's still got a 90-odd point lead in the championship over now. Ash Jarvis is the new second place in the championship in the Queensland-based Holden Monaro.
Yeah, which has been a very reliable car. I mean, he's kept in the championship for a couple of years, by dint of the fact that he's always there. He's there's lots of faster cars out there, but he's fast enough to be the best of the rest. And when some of the faster cars, break down or crash or do something really silly,
the car has finished second in the championship before with with Colin Smith at the wheel.
Yeah, so it's been around. So it's not the most modern car out there, but it's still good. So they'll be in action at Phillip Island, coming up for Island Magic, which unfortunately is on the same weekend as the Geelong Revival, which is where I'll probably be. But depends, as I said, it depends on finance and all the rest of it. Depends on whether we do one day or two, but the Geelong Revival is always a really big event. Speaking of which, I'll just point out, seeing we've sort of once again sort of gone way off the original topic, and we haven't even got to Formula One yet. We will say that we've got a couple of really huge weekends coming up for historic racing in Australia, and as Elias is saying, the countdown's on. Baskerville Historics this weekend. As I said before, probably the most fun meeting and the friendliest meeting you'd ever want to go to, at an amazing track. It's only half an hour or so outside of Hobart. Very easy to get to. Lovely drive, lovely atmosphere, great food. There's food trucks and all sorts of things there. They have a terrific barbecue for the officials on the Saturday night. I mean, it's not just your sausages and your hamburgers. It's a full-on spit roast, and there's pork and beef and sometimes lamb and fabulous salads, and they really just go out of their way. They've got a really big entry, particularly a big entry from interstate, which is really good because obviously it's a huge logistic exercise to get all those cars over there. And that's happening this weekend, and as is being pointed out, that there's practice on Thursday and also qualifying on Friday, and then racing Saturday and Sunday. The big Holden race is going to be there. You'll see more Holdens than you've seen in God knows when, and also there's
Elizabeth in South Australia.
So there's celebrating that. John Bower will be down there again. He's racing a couple of cars again there this year, including an Elfin, an ex-Gary Cooper Elfin.
Of course he is.
I think it is. Yeah, and he obviously loves the place, being an ex-Tassie boy and getting his start
and an ex-Elfin racer, factory driver.
Ex-Elfin factory driver, and credits Gary for basically kick-starting his career. So he'll be in action. The weather looks like it's going to be fine. And then, of course, the weekend after that, some of those cars will be coming back across Bass Strait. Some of them will be going home, but some of them will be going out to Sandown for the historic Sandown, which is happening the week after as well. And they've got a pretty good field for that as well. And include one of the big gimmick for this particular meeting is they're going to have a tribute to the Victorian Tourist Trophy race, which ran at Albert Park back in the 1950s and had people like Sterling Moss and Bib Stillwell and Lou Molina and a whole bunch of those people who raced. So they're going to have a dedicated open-top sports car event where they're just going to drag open-top sports cars from a whole lot of different categories and a whole lot of different vintages, and basically run them in a special race for the Victorian Tourist Trophy. And they're also going to have an all-Ford race, which is something that Baskerville has done for a couple of years already, but they're going to do it at Sandown as well, where they're going to take historic touring cars from Group C, Group A, all of the old Fords,
Group
and
U?
they're going to put them together. Unfortunately, there's the sports stands not running at Sandown, and I don't think, from what I've seen from the calendar for next year, they're probably not running. The other thing that is coming out is that Motorsport Australia have basically told VHRR they cannot run Formula 5000s anymore at Sandown, but in a press release today it was the VHRR have said that they are still in negotiation with Motorsport Australia to try and find a solution so that they can get those Formula 5000s out there in some form or another. It'd be a real shame if they'd sort of,
What's the problem?
restricted to sort of tootling around in demonstration
Noise?
laps. Or
Too
something,
fast and
but,
too fragile.
Or is it noise?
No,
Oh, no,
it's the safety. It's the safety
Okay.
issue.
Well, I
It's
was
the,
going to say they looked fine at the bend on the weekend.
It's the Brad Sheriff Nissan Skyline Bathurst rule, kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There is a power to weight ratio that the FIA apply for various levels of circuit. Sandown is not a level 2 circuit, so it effectively means that the Formula 5000s, despite being 40 years old or so, are pretty much restricted to Sydney Motorsport Park and the Bend. And in fact, next year there's going to be an Australian Formula 5000 series later in the year, and I think they might also, don't know how this works, but Mark, you might know, but I believe they've got penciled in a round at QR as well, so looks like they might have got through at QR, but at the moment they're the only rounds available because they've said that we're not allowed to race anywhere else.
Gee, that'll kill the historics at Sandown. I mean, I still go to watch the Formula 5000s.
Even after about 3 rounds of them, it goes from about 12 to 6. You're still watching.
Yes, it's high. But that was the thing in its prime. I mean, as Richard will happily tell you, I mean, I remember an Australian Grand Prix there, which I think they ended up with 5 cars went across the line, and some of those were literally holding together with bits of string and all sorts of. They were just every lap it was like there's 20 cars. Oh, hang on, there's 14 cars. Oh, there's 8 cars. There's 6 cars. Oh, is anybody going to finish this race?
Yeah. And then we recall some of the crashes, which were very nasty. Sorry, go, Mark. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, the thought was coming through to my mind was that, of course, Tony Quinn very famously owns a Tyrrell P34, and you'd imagine historic Formula 1 would be under the same sort of horsepower restrictions as Formula 5000 would, and I'm imagining that Tony would very much like to race his race car on the circuits that he runs.
Does he want to race it, or does he want to do demonstration laps? See, I think that this is
that's fair enough. I mean, he's got a Roltati 4 as well, so there's.
Yeah, see, this is the silly thing. I mean, the things like the Roltati, Formula Pacific cars, because they're 4-cylinder cars and they don't have 520 horsepower or something, they get through on the power to weight ratio, even though they're running the same or similar lap times, or even in some cases faster.
Formula Holden.
It's not a problem for them to run at Sandown.
Quinny will just do demos in the Tyrrell because he's got it's nothing specific to race against. I mean, he could just put it into a race with other stuff, but there's going to be no comparison.
Well, the other point is the Tyrrell isn't a real Tyrrell as well. Remember, it's a replica.
Yeah, well,
or
it doesn't matter.
reconstruction.
It looks good. So
it looks great. I mean, it's fabulous, and it is an official reconstruction. It's a continuation, and in in a lot of parts of the world, most parts of the world, in historic racing, it would be. It would be able to be run. Here in Australia, the Historic Racing Register is very, very strict on continuation and replica cars, because they basically say that is not an historic car. It might look like an historic car, it might be built like an historic car, using all of the same plans and everything, but it is not the car that ran in the day. And if you don't have that certificate of description to say that it was the car that ran during the day, you don't run. That's why the rebuilt John Cannon March Formula 5000 ended up back in America, because it was built. It was built out. It was rebuilt out here. I remember Cade Southall tested it at Sandown, looked fantastic. We did a story of it on the show, and the next thing it was on a boat back to America because they couldn't run it here. I mean, Roy Gibbs said, look, it's not the car because the car was destroyed, but it's been made to exactly the same specs. And they said, no, that's not the car. It can't run here. And in America, they said, hey, it can run over here. And that's where it is.
Never to be seen again.
Not in Australia, anyway.
Yeah. Mm.
Phil's saying that would be interesting. Could they run if it was a double ASA event? I don't know. That would be interesting. I mean, that would be. I can't see because they're not an FIA approved.
Do double ASA host historic events?
They do, but because they do the. I think they do the Winton Festival of Speed. I'm pretty sure that that's a.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure that that's a double ASA sanctioned event. So yeah, that'd be interesting. But anyway, let's move on to cars of a more modern era. Apparently we had a Grand Prix on the weekend, and Lando
lawn mowing Grand
Oscar
Prix
didn't, and the Sky are absolutely delighted, and James Allen has put out a huge article where he basically is saying that everything is. All is right with the world again because the most deserving and talented driver is now in the lead, and he will go on to easily win the championship now and show everybody what a fine driver he is, and all of those people out there who doubted him, and I was one of them, should just shut up and bow in the presence of his greatness because he is a fine racing driver and he's British.
Yes.
Brett, you sound like a bloody typical Aussie that is absolutely damn well sick to death of bloody all the pumps and all that sort of stuff. I am going to throw it out here.
The Ashes are around the corner. I mean, we got to get in.
Come on. 1 days from India are still going on at the moment. Jesus, you get a bit ahead of yourself there. However, I will throw where credit's due. Other than I do have the Ferrari lawnmower special behind me as well, though. That is a legitimate Ferrari, and that is called the Mexican Stadium Special. Lewis is just gagging to absolutely have a crack at it and see what he can do with it. However,
slimline.
Yeah, Lando drove a bloody 30 seconds ahead. I know he didn't get all the mishmash and all the carry on and all the fights and all the stuff behind. But he drove a bloody brilliant race. Well done. Well done to the guy. Fantastic driving. You've shown your true colours. Good stuff. Good luck to him if he wins the championship and beats our Aussie Oscar. All well and good. But as long as there was no favouritism or team orders and all that sort of stuff, good on him. He drove a bloody good race and stuff like that. And the rest of the stuff is somewhere where it's hard to pass, like most circuits. It was exciting racing because even a lap to go, if we hadn't had that virtual bloody Saint, it's called a virtual Saints car, I think. A virtual Saints car, it's called.
For 1.5 laps?
For a dead Williams, which was behind the barrier pretty quickly. So
there's protocols they got to follow.
Yeah, well, we can't complain about sort of, marshals, almost being run over and then saying that, why don't they just stand there and...
There is a dichotomy.
So you've got to, they did the right thing, and they did the right thing there. Pete, what did you think of it all? I mean, Lando did an amazing job. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He deserved his win. He dominated the weekend. What do you think of it all, Pete?
He did drive an amazing race, and I don't buy the contention that Lando is being favoured because they've got two separate engineers, and for the engineers to take a driver to the World Championship, it would look very good on their resume. So I don't think there's favouritism for either driver. I think it's simply this last weekend, the Oscar side of the garage were just overthinking things because in actual fact, and sure, we don't know what the settings were, and there were also a lot of the main drivers were not in the cars for practice one, but he had soft tyres on in the car at the beginning of the practice and was doing quite well, and like in the top 3 or 4, and then went into the pits and made changes, and that was it for the whole weekend. So I think it was just a case of them overthinking things.
Yeah, I think the thing about all of the conspiracy theories that are going around at the moment that and the mainstream media has piled into it as well. I mean, even the ABC, and I saw something on the channels. I think it was Channel 7 or was it Channel 9? Actually, while I was at the gym, and they were talking about, well, I mean, this is really suspicious. It looks like our boys, it's Far Lap all over again.
Yeah.
He's been nobbled. And it's like, no, he hasn't been nobbled. The only thing is, I mean, you can hear it in his voice. And Lando did point out that over the break, he admits that he went to see a sports psychologist and he sorted a few things out. And one of the things that he sorted out was basically being more forceful to the team and saying, look, this is what I want. And that's what he said happened after the Singapore Grand Prix. He went to them and said, no, the car is not, I don't like the car the way it is. For me, it might work for Oscar. It's not working for me. I don't want the car set up like this. I want it to be set up like the other way.
Wasn't
And
George
they've
Russell
gone,
the
oh,
star?
okay, and they've said it. So he's getting the best out of it. Also, if you have a look at last year's results, I mean, obviously there was the problem at Azerbaijan, but following that, if you have a look at Oscar's results from all of these same tracks last year, he did terrible at this track. At all these tracks, he did terrible at Circuit of the Americas. He did terrible at Mexico. Was no better at Brazil. I think it wasn't until I think it wasn't until they got to the last round at Abu Dhabi when he came back into a bit of form. But he clearly. And he said himself, he just doesn't like these tracks. So
No, can I read George Russell's team radio, please? Brett, you got the beep button ready for me, please?
no, we don't. The budget doesn't run to a beep button.
Yeah, I've got a beep button. It's just going to be beep. I'm sorry, I'm going to get. I might get that. What else do you want me to do? Anyway,
the best I can offer is what's called a magic twinkle. That's all. That's all I've
wow,
got.
that might be the George.
Hang on, I've got
Well, boys and girls,
That sounds like
how well is Lando doing now?
Oh,
Yes, isn't he wonderful?
It's not like this episode of Romper Room, is it? We're just trying to.
Anyway, hello, Murray Tregoning.
hello, Mr. Saturday. I'm sorry I can't read out your team radio because I tell you what, I couldn't do it as good as you did anyway on the weekend and tell your engineers on what else do you frickin' want me to do. Anyhow, getting back to the point of what you're saying is, I have a couple of questions. One for everyone, anyway. Is this going to define Oscar? Because he has to now fight for it as well, though, too. So will he get the championship from it? Or will it define him and he have to come back harder the next year? Also, what was it? It was what team? I think they did an interview on the weekend. It was Ferrari or Williams. Was it Williams or was it maybe Merc? Just pick a team. They've shelved. Oh, no. It was definitely Haas. They 2 rounds ago, they've shelved any upgrades, development up for the rest of the year. So for Ollie and Ocon to be in the top 10 and get points, that was really great stuff in getting the best out of the car. And I think it was, what's his name, the Japanese team principal at Haas. Great interview. He was just absolutely... Yeah,
I think it's the other way around, actually. Like everyone else has shelved, and Haas came up at the... it might have been at Monza. They came in with a very large upgrade to their car.
Yeah, but they've none since, and they're not going to do any more. They've said that. It was on the weekend.
But everyone else has kind of done that as well.
I think pretty much, everybody's got development on because they're really concentrating, obviously, on next year. I mean, I think they've done whatever they can do. Now the Constructors' Championship is over. It really is now. It's a three-way fight, and for everybody else, they're basically, they're just looking towards next year. Now,
Gabby drove well too. Gabby drove very well. I thought it was a good drive.
And home race coming up.
Yes, next race. So he did a great. He's great in interview. He's as Laura and Hinchy and Ruth when they were interviewing in the post race on the weekend. They love having him on because even though he's out of the car and he's probably half exhausted, he's so exuberant and talks and gives you so much insight and so much true description of his energy, of how much fun he's had, and etc. like that. Like, I mean, he'll never turn into a Lewis Hamilton. He'll never, even if he wins 6 championships, I couldn't see him turning into. I mean, he just the 3 questions they just played him. Absolutely walked on eggshells with him in the pen afterwards, and he gave them absolutely nothing. And it's Brett's a big fan of Kim, and Kim's starting to get off the boil with him a little bit too. I think he's starting to get a bit annoyed with Lewis as well, like a few people are.
I think Lewis is obviously, and Lewis is in that situation now where he's closer to the end than he is to the beginning, and he can see the time coming that he's probably got another year left in him. He's probably holding out for the fact that hopefully these new regulations are going to suit me and they're going to suit my driving style, and I can get back out there again and I can start winning. If he doesn't, you'd have to say, and it's the same for Fernando Alonso, you'd have to think that if they don't start winning, that like next year has got to be sort of I'd be certainly for Ferrari, I'd be putting my hands on Lewis's shoulder and saying, look, like we love you being here, and we'd love you to be a brand ambassador for the rest of your life and shower you with with lots and lots of cars and lots of lifestyle and all and money, but we probably need to get someone else into that car now, and that might open up the possibility for Oscar, because I think if Oscar does lose this year, and if he loses again next year, and whenever he's in 28 when his contract apparently is up, I imagine that Mark Webber is probably going to sit there, and this will all be going in the book, in terms of
taking notes.
When he was in front, and we don't think that he got the support that he really deserved at the time. So we don't owe you any favours, and he'd look really good in a Ferrari.
I'd say to Mark and Oscar, go to hell. We don't want you. I get Ollie Behrman in it. Get Ollie. He deserves it.
Well, he's there already, basically.
That's what I'm saying. Give it to him. Give it to him. That's what I'm saying. Give it to the kid. He's great. He's fantastic. I reckon he would absolutely be the perfect fit for Ferrari, and give him a bit of a new energy. And and if he had Fred on his side, because Fred doesn't do things by the book sometimes, and he's ruffled a few feathers there. It is as far as Oscar, bugger it. I'd say go to hell. I don't care. Wouldn't even offer him a cent.
I reckon what's happened with Lewis this year is, he's come to Ferrari. There's been such a great level of enthusiasm about all of it, and it's not been that long since Lewis was fighting tooth and nail with Verstappen for his first championship, and we're now 8-10 months on from the start of the season, and he now can't see his next world championship victory. It's I'm sure he came into the season thinking, I can challenge for this, and now it's confronted that not only can I not see myself in the championship picture, I can't see it next year or maybe ever again.
He can't even get that record, Jonesy, that he wants to get on the bloody podium. He can't even get that.
Yeah, he's been confronted with his career mortality, and that's that's taking a toll on his it's giving him a bit of depression. I think he maybe needs Lando's sports psychologist, who I believe the name of that sports psychologist is Professor G. Russell.
All right.
Based on George's radio calls.
Yes.
As we mentioned, as we were slightly elaborated to a bit earlier, but look, he's not the other one. Who else is? There's a few of them over the season. This season, obviously, previous years, Max hasn't held back a few times. Just don't talk to me. I don't want to hear from you. Leave me alone. I'm trying to concentrate on this. Well, George's one was there's been a few of them.
Fernando was going to disconnect his radio.
Nando Libri.
Who was it on the weekend was saying, "Don't talk to me while I'm in a corner"?
Wasn't that Lewis? Is that Lewis?
It might have been Lewis, I think.
So-
Oh no, it was somebody who went off at the very. Oh, actually, I tell a lie. I think that's a radio message that's come into my head from what something that happened to Forrest Over at Bathurst, and I think it was Winterbottom.
Yeah, it was Mark Winterbottom. I heard that too.
Frosty.
Yeah.
Got to visit one of his bakeries over in Brunswick or wherever. Yeah. Anyway, he's got 2 over there. That's getting way off the subject. Get back into the race.
Do they have decent frosting?
Yes.
Sorry, what?
Frosties bakeries.
Frosty's Bakeries.
No, they're called something else.
No,
You
it's
try.
called something else. He has an ownership in it.
He's half owner. He's 50-50 with another his mate.
You mean he's half baked?
Oh.
That's a better pun.
Hey, speaking
Much
about
better
half
than mine.
Speaking about half baked, I'd like to get half baked before I go to bed tonight. So we better start wrapping things up. Just quickly,
Sounds a bit
Doc,
weird.
MotoGP.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah,
we
the
mentioned
highs
crash
and
before,
lows.
but let's talk
Highs
about the
and
main
lows
race.
Sorry, Brett. Sorry, I was going to say the highs before. I'll just interrupt for 2 seconds. The highs and lows of Ducati and Pecco. Now, off you go. Do the promo.
No, that's I mean, yeah. Like, anything else you want to say about it before we go?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, the guy, the pressure that's on Pecco Bagnaia at Ducati at the moment. Everyone's talking about it. I don't want to sound like another vlog or another 5-minute YouTube video or a 2-minute podcast or something like that, but to sum it all up to the 2-wheel fan at the moment, the guy's under so much pressure, whether he actually keeps his seat or can he perform or what's all his problems. I mean, every commentator in the book in Australia jumped on his head and stomped on him with screw-ins at the AFL ground type style on a country footy match when he was here, and he had to come back with some sort of thing, and he was in free practice. He was still at the bottom, and he was in qualifying. And he just scraped in Q2, which is qualifying 2. So basically, in the practice, they take away the like they do in the top 10 shootout with the Supercars here in Australia. The top 10 will go straight to qualifying 1, but then they have a qualifying 2, and every other rider has to fight for the top 2 spots. Those top 2 spots go into the Q1. And they all fight it out for the grid for the top positions from 1 through the 12. And he just scraped it, I think, almost on the last lap against some great competition. And, they were all split by only less than a second at one stage in Q1 or Q2 anyway. He scrapes in and absolutely just comes from nowhere and just pulls his lap completely out of the bag and goes to the top of the pops and goes in front of the grid, and then he's fighting. He was second. He was second in the race, and he started having a few bike issues. The Ducati, the reliability of the old Ducati, the what do you call them, the latte sipping, pizza munching bikes failed on him, and he had to retire. So it's just he's just showing glimpses of form, and the championship's over. Well done to Alex Marquez. He's cemented his spot as second, so it was a Marquez 1-2 for the year. For Raul Fernandez was just absolutely nowhere. Absolutely blitzed him. He's a Aprilia in Australia, and then I think he was well into the teens again as well too. Miller showed a little bit of form in the sprint, but came up with nothing, and he also, I think he drifted back to 15th or 16th in the Malaysians. It was over in Sepang over the Malaysian Grand Prix we just had on the weekend for the MotoGP. So it's crazy. I mean, you can understand why some people watch the Moto2 or Moto3 when they race, not the sighting laps, that they get it more excited and there's a little bit more fun to watch those. But look, they've all got... it's the season's over. They're having a bit of fun. Yamaha's developing the new V4 bike. That didn't go so well on the weekend, but that was predicted. And Quartararo is as frustrated as ever. It's just, it's MotoGP. It is at the moment, so just enjoy it for what it is. Watch the bikes go around. They're pretty, and they're fun to watch when they dice it up a little bit. But it's just, you can't, it's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat at the moment. You don't know who's going to be fast, who's slow, whether it's going to be a KTM or a Aprilia or a satellite Ducati. It's just crazy at the moment. Honda even, Joan Mir ended up third, which is crazy. It was a Japanese bike, and there were, I think, 4 of the top 5 also qualified on the front row of the grid for the main race. And Honda it seems to be finding a little bit of form again, finding a little bit of fun in there, and so Joe Merv, Johan Zarco is always competitive.
It's been a bit predictable with the Ducatis just totally dominating for the past year or
Doesn't
two.
It seem like
it's been superb. Hey, listen, just see, as Phil's pointed out, and also coming up this weekend up at Winton Motor Raceway, the High Tech Oil Series, that will be on SBS and also on their YouTube channel. TA2, the trucks are going to be back. Trucks are always popular at Winton. They attract a huge crowd up there, so it'll be a big weekend at Winton. They might have a bit of rain too, because there's a bit of rain forecast around the place. So let's see what happens there. But that'll be on this weekend. And as we did say, after if you are down in Tasmania, if we can get down to Tasmania, head down for the Baskerville Historics. It'll going to be a huge weekend. Now, next week there'll be no edition of Full Course Yellow next week because it's a public holiday, and the government won't let us work on a public holiday. It's forbidden.
Really?
It's just not allowed. So we'll be taking a break and doing what most people do on Melbourne Cup Day and getting drunk and falling over. So and I'm good at that. I've done it before. It works. And also, but after that, later on in the week, remember Sandown Historics coming up. We'll be out at Sandown Historics. Not sure what we'll be doing at this stage. I believe that it is being live streamed via Blendline TV, which limits what we can do out there. But apart from that, we'll certainly be out there, waving the camera around and getting something somewhere on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. And there's other stuff coming, which I won't go into right now. But anyway, we'll see you next week. Not next week, in a couple of weeks' time. We'll all have a break, a much-needed break. Everybody have a really great week. If you're doing any motor racing or watching it, enjoy it. But from all of us here, Jonesy has disappeared. He's run out.
Jonesy's grabbed his little wakeboard and headed out to the surf.
He's run out of power up there. The cyclone's come in or something and knocked him out, unfortunately. So anyway, on behalf of all of us, including Jonesy, it's time for us to say goodbye. So we'll catch you. We'll catch you next week, everybody.